Hello everyone, I'm Ashok. So what's the exact limitation of Python Pandas library? As you might be aware, Pandas is one of the very popular libraries for data wrangling or data manipulation. And data manipulation or data preparation itself becomes a very important block in your data science projects workflow. So one of the often asked question is what's the actual limitation? Basically, how much data we can process in pandas. What's the limitation beyond which we need to go for some kind of parallel processing or big data solutions? Well, it really depends on what's the configuration of your system. If you're working in a laptop, a decent laptop or a server, it really depends on how much memory it can actually hold. Typically, what we say is pandas can be safely used without any performance issues from 1 to 5 GB data. You can have millions of records with let's say 20-30 fields within this range. And pandas is the most extensive library with the most extensive functionalities and modules. So within this limit, pandas is the best if you're working with the structured data or panel data, which is the name actually came from pandas is a panel data. Pandas is the best solution. If it goes beyond 5 and let's say up to 30 GB or even more, let's say 100 GB, even up to 30 GB, we can still use pandas without loading because pandas typically loads all of your data set in your memory. So if you have a limited memory, then this becomes a constraint. But we have an option in pandas called chunk size. Let me show you that. I'm going to import pandas as PD, and then I say pd.read SQL, or just I would say CSV. Let's imagine that you have a huge flat file, a text file, um, any file. Let's say I do have a lot of files. Chunk size. So you can mention how much memory chunk you want to, how much data you want to load in one chunk. So once it processes that, then it loads another chunk. So this makes pandas more extensible beyond your physical limitation of your physical memory. This allows pandas to use up to 5 to 30 GB or even slightly more than that. But we have a small problem. Pandas does not come up with the failover features, which means that if there is an error occurred while processing this a large amount of data, then you have to start all over. All the time you spent on processing the whatever till the error, you cannot get it back. A typical big data solutions has it. So pandas limitation, I would say up to 30 GB of data using your option chunk size, which helps you to load data in chunks. So you can still load much more than what your limitation of your physical memory by using chunk size. If it goes beyond 30 till 100 to 100 GB, for example, there is another framework called um, Dask. So Dask is a framework which basically provides a parallelism and enables a performance at scale. So you can have a parallel processing for the existing packages. For example, your favorite packages like NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, sklearn, which does not come up with inbuilt parallel processing capacity, but Dask enables it. It's a fantastic package, and you could actually extend the capacity of NumPy, Pandas, and sklearn much beyond what it can actually do. I'll just show you a quick example. So put something over there. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I didn't really store it anywhere. Let's say df is equal to, okay. Great, so let me import Dask. If you want to install a Dask, then it is just, you can say pip install Dask. I have already installed it. If you say pip install Dask, it just installs it. Now it says it's already been installed. So I'm going to import Dask. Let's say I want to implement NumPy with the parallelism and to implement NumPy at scale. So there is a module called Dask array, and we say I'm just going to rename it as import it as DA, and this comes up with all the functions of your NumPy. For example, it's a random number, so you have a random sub package under which you have random int sub package. If you know what is NumPy and you use this, you understand this very well. So I can say I want to generate a numbers between 10 and 100 randomly. If I just run it, you get just one number. You need to compute for that. So I'm going to say I want a million numbers. So thousand, a million numbers, maybe 10 millions. How about 100 million numbers? So I've just asked a Dask to generate 100 million numbers, and I'm going to store this into a variable. Here we go. It just generated and stored in no time. And if I want to actually look into that, so if I just run it, it says that yeah, it has 100 million numbers. And let me also reshape it, so it makes more sense if I reshape it. So I'm going to say 100 records per row. Basically, first dimension is 100. The first dimension is 100. Second is, so I'll say 100,000 into 100. So is it a million? It's a million. Yeah, 100 million. So I asked to generate 100 million numbers and reshape it in this fashion. So some numbers are missing. Okay, cool. So this is 1 million into 100. And if you look at the thing, so we actually have the data. If you want to see the data, well, you cannot display all those things here, but it will just show you when you say compute. So these are the numbers. It's randomly generated 100 million numbers, and look at the speed. It doesn't really take time. It is did in a fraction of seconds. Fantastic. And Dask can also apply, we can also use Dask for data frame, for example. So if I say Dask, I guess there is a function called, yeah, data frame, as I'm going to say DD. And let's say DD, then all your data frames function, like for example, read CSV, you can find it here. I can import car evaluation data set or any data set of your favorite, and I'm going to store it as data. That's it. And if I want to, if I want to see that, it's a compute. So all of your data has been loaded, and basically I have Dask data frame which implements Pandas and also with all these scalable functions like parallelism. Fantastic, isn't it? We can also do the very similar thing with sklearn, and there is a package called as Dask underscore ML for that. So coming back to our limitation, so Dask comes next level, where you can probably do up to 200 even more gigabytes of data, because Dask effectively implements parallelism. If it goes beyond that, you have a huge data, terabytes of data. Terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So 1,000 gigabytes is a terabyte. And petabytes of data, 1,000 terabytes is equal to a petabyte. So a petabyte of data. So it's huge data. Then of course you need to go for big data solutions. And one of the very popular solutions in the market right now is Spark. Spark itself is written on Scala programming language, and it implements Java Virtual Machine, JVM. And Spark actually comes up with a very nice API for Python called PySpark. This is wonderful because you can do similar programming like what you're doing with the Pandas and Jupyter by using PySpark. So we don't have to change the frameworks and stuff. So you can simply say import Spark, PySpark actually. So if you want to install PySpark, it's also pretty straightforward. You can simply say pip install PySpark. That will get the job done because PySpark also has a package in your pip repository. I'm going to call it as Spark, and that's it. And to initiate, we need to import a few more packages. Let me see, is something called as Spark So I have to say from Spark import Spark context, isn't it? Why it's not coming? SQL context. Oh, sorry, my apologies. PySpark, then just thinking why it's not coming. So Spark context and then SQL context. Okay, and you have to run a Spark PySpark in session. So this PySpark is a big topic, and probably I will be recording an entire tutorial of PySpark as one of the series which is being planned. So PySpark is very interesting because you could do a huge amount of data processing. It's a complete big data solution, like a full complete big data solution. We can also do a real-time streaming with PySpark. So I'll reserve that some other time, just demonstrating how PySpark can work. So I'm going to simply initiate a context, saying sc is equal to spark context, and then I'm going to just say s is equal to or SQL context, and I pass on the SQL context, pass on the Spark context, correct? Okay, it takes a bit time. Okay, done. Now I could read files just like I read other things. For example, I want to read the same file I've read above, so I can say read CSV, read.csv, and I can give this car evaluation, the same file I used above. That will read the, okay, it has read actually. And if you want to display it, let me just store it in a data. And if you want to display it, you say so it's not that pretty as your data frame, so it has the one we are talking about. I'm just thinking why this header doesn't come, so I have to put it the options, saying that options and say header is equal to true. So I have to explicitly say that we have a header, otherwise, yeah, now we got it. So it shows by default 20. If you want to have only 5, just like your Pandas has head function which shows you only 5, you can explicitly mention as 5. If you want to select a particular let's say one of the columns, we can use select function, just like you are slicing or the LOC function in Pandas. We have select function in PySpark. So I'm going to say for example maintenance, and then I say show. So if you want to select more than one columns, you can select. We also have group by. We have almost most of the features. It's not very extensive as Pandas, but almost all the functional things which we need to do certain processing is already a part of PySpark. So if you are used to Pandas, so switching to PySpark just takes a bit of few tutorials and few commands learning and few things, but you can have a very smooth transition to PySpark. The benefit of using PySpark is there is no limitation, so you can process huge data. Okay, PySpark also has connectivity for, you can read data from SQL directly. We can read from RDD file system. We can read from Hive, from big data, Hadoop, Hive, Hive file system, and probably all kinds of distributed system can be read by PySpark. So it has a very good connectivity. You can bring in the data from the big data into your data frames, into your workflow, and you can process huge amount of data. Okay, so that's it. I hope this is helpful, and it's a very high level tutorial just to show that what's the limitations. So if you have any questions on this, please leave a comment and I'll be happy to help. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this channel, please subscribe and click the notification button. See you in the next video.